Okay. All right, there we go. So now we're in 2-2. And there's no, I really have nothing new to tell you. It's just practicing what we've learned now. We've seen the whole thing. This is all of Chapter 2. It's really that Bonshoff power stuff. So let's try this one. Here's a weighted voting system. Find the Bonshoff power. They're going to basically give A, B, and C, and they're going to just keep changing the Q in the front. That's what they're going to do. So part A, they're going to make Q 14. So let's do that. So they're going to say, okay, the Q right here is 14. So that's 14 colon 14.831. Is that good? So why don't you find the Bonshoff power for that. Now, how do you do that? What's the first thing you do? Is you list all winning teams. Just the winners, right? Just all winning teams. All winning teams. And you got to do that very thoroughly, right? You can't miss any. So use the system. List all the 4-player teams. And then list all the 3-player teams. And all the 2-player, etc. That first player right here is a dictator. Why? Because he has enough votes to get it done without anybody else. He's Stalin, right? He absolutely rules and points his finger at people he doesn't like and shoots them dead, right? So that means when you could do the whole entire thing, and it'll all end up being 100% 0, 0, 0. That's what'll happen. So rather than do all that, let's just go to part B, where it'll be worth our while. Does that make sense? You just observe he's got 100% of the power. It will work. The whole system will end up doing that. But I don't want to waste all that time. So let's go to part B, where it'll be more useful. So he's a dictator. He'll end up with 100% of the power. Nobody else has any power at all. So off we go to part B then. So part B says, okay, let the Q be 16. So I'm going to put a 16 in front. That way player 1's not a dictator now, right? So it's 16 and 14, comma 8, comma 3, comma 1, like that. In fact, I think I'm going to put it up here. So go ahead, try that one now. That one will be more regular. So, you know what, I should say this. Actually, what you're going to type in then for the last one, the answer, see how they, because he's a dictator, see how they're saying Bonshoff power for player 1, Bonshoff for player 2, Bonshoff for player, they have these boxes, and they want you to put the Bonshoff power in there for each of the 4 players. Well, basically, it's going to be 1, because they don't want a decimal. They want a fraction. I'm sorry, they don't want a percentage. It's going to be 1, 0, 0, 0. They want decimals or fractions. So the fraction is 1. It's 1 over 1. It's 100% of the power. They want fractions, not percentages or decimals. There we go. So that would be the answer for that one, right? All right, so let's do part B here. So first off, list all winning teams. All winning teams. So first off, all the teams with 4 players. 4 players. That's just all 4 players. So just list 14, 8, 3, 1. Done. And then next, list all the 3-player winning teams. Then all the 2-player. And on you go. I'll give you a second. All right, so the 3-player. So remember, how is it that you list all the 3-player teams? You just cover up one at a time. So for example, if you can just use your finger if you want. If you just cover up the 1, you've got 14, 8, 3. Right, if I just cover up the 1, 14, 8, 3. You with me? And then put it back. And now cover up the 3. What do you got? 14, 8, 1. Okay, and then put it back. And then cover up the 8. What do you got? 14, 3, 1. Then I'll put it back. Then cover up the 14. What do you got? 8, 3-1. Now, that's not a winner, but I'll go back and check. But first off, I just kind of list them all. I just want to be systematic, thorough, make sure. You know, for me, when I took tests, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't making a tiny little mistake. So I always give my kids a hard time. I just don't relate to. I was always super careful. My kids will take some test and they'll say, "Yeah, I missed that page. It was stuck together." I always go, "Why would you do that? Why would you?" I would always lick my fingers and do the bit. They're like, "Dad, we know you're super careful." Anyway, so be careful. That does help. All right. So anyway, so which of these add up now? Which of these add up? What was that first number, 14? Okay, putting those back. Anyway, this one does not, this one's out because it does not add up to 16, right? You got to add up to 16 to be a winner, 16 or more. So 8, 3, and 1 is only, what, 12? So it's out. The rest are winners, though. The rest are 16 or more. Now, let's do the two-player teams. Come back here. So two-player teams. Now, the two-player teams, to make 16 total, there's only the 14 and 8. That's 16 or more, and the 14 and 3, that's 16 or more. No other two-player teams are going to do it. So that's all, and there's no one-player team. So that's all the winning coalitions, right? That's all the winning coalitions. So now the hard part is the critical question. Who's critical? Remember what this is where students often get confused. Let me really say this real clear for you. So what it means to be critical, if you quit, they lose. Wouldn't that make you feel important? If you quit, they lose. You're critical. They had to have you, right? You quit, they lose. That's what it means to be critical. So let's take it one at a time. Cover up the 14. If the 14 says, "I quit, I'm not coming," does the 8 alone lose now? He was a winner. 14 and 8 was a winning team. But now, 8 alone, that's not going to make 16. Yeah, they lose. So the 14 is certainly critical. And these are all, in the two-man teams, they're virtually always both critical. How about we get on to the three-player team? So on the three-player team, let's get up here with the 14. If this 14 drops out, if he quits, they only have 8 and 3. They lose. That's only 11. They need 16. So that 14 is critical. If he quits, they lose. Right? Now, how about if the 8 quits? The 8 quits this team. They have 14 and 3 still. That's 17. No, they still win. He's not critical. He quits, they don't lose. He's not critical. Right? You guys tracking with me? That 8 is not critical. And if the 8's not critical, how could the 3 be? I'm not even going to bother to check the 3. If 8's not critical, how could anybody of less power be critical? Okay, so we go down to the next team. Is 14 critical here? Well, if you quit, do they lose? Yeah, 8 and 1. 8 and 1 loses. Yeah. If you quit, they lose. All right, so how about the 8 in the middle? If the 8 quits, do they lose? 14 and 1. They only have 15, they lose. If that 8 quits in the middle, they lose. So they got to have him. He's critical. If that 8, on this team anyway, if that 8 quits, the team loses. They only have 15 without him, 14 and 1, right? They need 16. All right, how about the 1? No, the 1's not good. If the 1 quits, they still have 14 and 8, 22. They have plenty. All right, next team. 14 quits. Do they lose? Yeah, they've only got 3 and 1 is 4. Okay, what if the 3 in the middle? What if the 3 quits? Do they lose? Yeah, they only have 15 again. 14 and 1, 15. So he's critical. If the 1 quits, no, they still have 17. They don't lose. He's not critical. All right, and again, this is out. So, and now what about the 4-player teams? If the 14 quits, the 4-player team, if he quits, do they lose? 8, 3, and 1 is only 12. Yeah, they lose. They got to have the 14. He's even critical on the 4-player team. Everybody see that? How about the 8? If the 8 quits the 4-player team, do they lose? No. If the 8 quits, they have 14, 3, and 1. They still have more than 16, 16 or more. So the 8 is not critical. And if 8's not critical, nobody else below him could be. So I'll stop checking. Right? As soon as you get a not critical, you don't need to go lower. All the rest are not critical also. So there we are. I've circled all the critical times. So here we go then. So the player 1, player 2, player, well, I'm going to run out of room there, huh? So critical, let's put it over here. So, all right, so how many times were things circled? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? 10 times we had things circled. 10 critical times. 10 times when something matters. So player 1, it's all going to be out of 10, isn't it? Player 2, it's out of 10. Player 3, it's out of 10. Player 4, it's out of 10. They're all out of 10. Player 1, the 14, has how many of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of 10. Player 2 has, what's player 2? The 8. 1, 2, 2 out of 10. Player 3 is the 3. Has 1, 2, same. And then player 4, which is the 1, never. Right? Is that right? Yeah, never. 0. So, reduce this fraction, divide. They want you to reduce the fraction. Divide by 2 top and bottom. 3/5. Divide by 2 top and bottom. 1/5. Divide by 2 top and bottom. 1/5. 0. Player 4 is, what do we call player 4? Dummy. Player 4 is a dummy. No power. 0. That's what Bonshoff proved that North Hempstead was, a big dummy county, a big dummy region. Anyway, there we go. There's the power distribution. Does that make sense on that? We good with doing that? So there's a part C, which we don't have time to do, where Q is 22, and you have to do that and work all that out in the same kind of way. Let me show you with 15 minutes we have left. Let me see what else there is here. No other questions? Everybody got that copy down okay? That'll be on the YouTube. It's like a word problem instead of numbers. Okay. So, okay. Law firm is run by 4 partners, A, B, C, and D. Each partner has 1 vote. Decisions are made by majority. But in the case of a 2-2 tie, the coalition with A, the junior partner, loses. List all the winning coalitions, the critical players in each. Find the Bonshoff power distribution of this law firm. Okay. What are they talking about? So first off, do you understand the basic thing they're talking about? They've got these 4 partners in the law firm, A, B, C, and D. They make the decisions for the law firm. Now, if they're deciding whether to take a case or do a certain thing, it's majority rule. Right? Where does it say? Right there. It's majority rule. So in other words, if 3 of them want to do it and 1 of them doesn't, well, the majority wins, right? So that's the first thing. But what if there's a 2-2 tie? What if there's a 2-2 split? How are they going to make the decision when there's a 2-2 tie? Well, what does it say? In the case of a 2-2 tie, the team, the coalition, with A, the junior partner, the one who's newest to the law firm, loses because he's the junior partner. So, in other words, if it was A, B wanted to do something and C, D didn't, if it was A, B versus C, D, A and B said, we like this thing, and C and D said, we don't. It's a 2-2 tie. There's no majority. So who gets their way? The A, B team or the C, D team? Yes, C, D gets their way because it's a 2-2 tie and they don't have the junior partner. So A is worth less, really, is what they're saying. So he's worth less in the tie break, basically, because he's the junior partner. That's the system they came up with. I will give you one like this on the exam, but it might be changed. It might say A's the senior partner, and whoever has A automatically wins in a 2-2 tie, or some variation thereof. So you got to just kind of think out the rule according to what they state in words. All right, so understand the plan? So if it's a 2-2 tie, whoever has A loses according to this system. All right, so with that in mind, they want us to figure out the Bonshoff power, and you know what that means. What do we got to do first to figure out Bonshoff power? List all the winning teams, huh? So that's the first step. That's always the first step. List all winning teams, coalitions. So let's list all the 4-player winning teams. What's that? Well, that's A, B, C, D. That's all 4 of them. A, B, C, D. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So if all four of them want to do something, obviously they're going to do it. That's everybody, right? So that's a winning setup. Now, let's list the 3-player winning teams. Okay, so no numbers here. It's just, we just got to keep looking at the rule. So 3-player. Now, how do you do all 3-player teams? Let me let you list. Let me be worth it. It'd be worth taking 1 minute. List those out. Remember, use the system I gave you. You can't miss any. So list every 3-player team. So how do you do that? You just drop them out one at a time, right? So like I'll drop out D. So that would be the A, B, C team. And then I'll drop out C. So that will be the A, B, D team. Right? And then I'll drop out B. That'll be the A, C, D team. And then I'll drop out A. And that'll be the B, C, D team. We get to there? That all making sense? So there's all, and I know I haven't missed any because I used a system, right? So there they are. There's all the 3-player teams. Now let's list all the 2-player teams. So all the 2-player teams. Oh, by the way, do all those 3-player teams win? We're supposed to only be listing winners, huh? Do all those 3-player teams win? There's no numbers here. There's just a rule. There's words. So what are the words? What is the rule? That's only with a 2-2 tie, though. Remember, that's only with a 2-2 tie. The first rule is majority. Right? It's the only time you do the A thing is when there's a tie. That's the tiebreaker rule. Does that make sense? So we don't even think about that unless it's a 2-2 tie. Right? So if 3 people, any 3 people out of the 4 in the office want to do something, they're going to win. These are all winners by the rule. Right? If A, B, and C all like a certain plan, it's going to go. Even if D's not in that. That's a majority, right? All these are 3 out of 4. They're all majorities. I don't even need to think about the tie. None of these are ties. None of these are ties. These are all 3-to-1 majorities, aren't they? Is that making sense? When I list 3, I'm saying those 3 want to do whatever. And the one that's not in the group doesn't, but that's a majority. So they're all winning. They're going to get their way, right? Don't even need to think about the tiebreaker rule. None of these are 2-2 ties. Now, when we list the 2 players, we do have to think about it. You're going to only have 2 players that like to do something. You're going to have to think about the tiebreaker rule. So how can 2 players be a winning team? How can 2 people get together, want to do something, and they get their way? Because 2 want to and 2 don't is a tie. Right? I'm about to list the 2-player teams that win, which means it's 2 that want to, 2 that don't. And so how does a 2-player team win? Well, that's when we consult the tie-breaking rule. A 2-player team wins if they don't have A. A 2-player team wins if they don't have A. So list all the 2-player teams that don't have A, and they'll all be winners. Right? So how do you do that? Well, you just start at B. B, C, B, D. B, C, B, D. And C, D. And I know that's got to be it. There's no more. That's all the 2-player teams that don't have A. Oh. Does that make sense? Those are the winners? Because that's a 2-2 tie, but they don't have A, so they win. So there's all the winning coalitions. Now what is it time to do? Find out who's critical, right? So now we got to go back and say, okay, So who's critical in these various teams? Let's go take a look. So let's see. So to find the critical players, let's go one by one. Remember what you do. Remember what critical means. Let me write critical again. This is often the tricky part for people. Critical means you quit, they lose. Right? You quit and your team loses. You quit and the team loses. So let's go round by round, item by item, and let's see. Let's start with the two-player teams. You know, you're expecting they're all going to be circled, huh? Because they almost always are. Right? B, C, B, D, C, D. It's true again, right? Right? Because take any of these. If C quits, then it's only D. That's not going to be a winner. He's only one person wanting to do something. He's not going to win. Or if D quits, it's only C. The team's going to lose. Right? So when you only have two people, everybody's critical. Right? If one of them quits, the team loses. Right? We good? Let's go to the three-player. Let me let you do that. Let me give, that's where the real thinking is. So go to the three-player and circle who's critical. Give you just about a minute or two to do that. Let me sense. Let's go through it. So let's just start with the ABC. If A quits, does the BC team lose? No. BC is two people who want to do something, so that must mean the other two don't. So it's a 2-2 tie, and they don't have A. So they win in a 2-2 tie. So A is not critical here. Did you track that? Want me to do that again? Do you understand that? So critical means if you quit, they lose. So if A quits, does the BC team lose? No. No. In fact, we can see right here, BC is a winner team. Right? BC wins. If you only have B and C liking something, they're going to win. Because they're two people, that's a 2-2 tie, and they don't have A. So the 2-2 teams without A win. That was the tiebreaker rule. So A is not critical. But how about B? If B drops out, does the AC team lose?
Yes.
Yes, they do. Because they're only two, and they've got the junior. So they lose. So B is critical there. How about C? If C drops out, does the AB team lose? Yes, they do, because again, they're only two, and they have the junior, so they lose. So see how B and C are critical there, but A is not? Does that make sense? And then that's just going to continue here. A, B, D, A, and all those, right? A is not critical. Now, what about in the three-player team, where they don't have A? See, these are all the same. In every case, A is not going to be critical, and the other two will be. But how about here with B, C, D? Let's go through it. If B drops out, does C, D lose? No. C, D is two people. Without the junior, they still win. So B is not critical. How about C? Cover up C. Does B, D lose? No. No. B, D is two people without A. They still win. If D drops out, do B, C lose? No. They're two people without A. They still win. So none of these guys are critical. Any one of these guys could drop out. They're still going to win. None of them are critical there, huh? Let's go up to the four-player. None of them could be critical. If this team isn't critical, how could anybody be on the four-player team? They're even stronger. But I'll go through it. If A drops out, do B, C, D lose? No way. They got three people. See how if any one drops out, they still have three. They're still going to win. So nobody's critical up there. So that's it. We've circled all the critical times. So let's put down the answer then. So ready? So we'll do A, B, C, and D for the power. So how many times is real power exercise? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 12 times. So they're all going to have a denominator of 12. How many times was it exercised by A? 0. No power. What's A?
Dummy.
A dummy. B, how many times was B? 1, 2, 3, 4. And they're all going to be 4/12. So which is 1/3, right? Reduce those fractions. There we go. 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 for B, C, and D. That's interesting, isn't it? When you first read that, would you have thought that A has absolutely no power in that situation? Doesn't it sound like they're giving A power when they say, hey, look, A, you're one of us. We'll just vote on everything and majority wins, and if you're part of the majority, you win. But if it is a tie, you're the new guy, so we're going to, just for a tie, we're going to go with the team without you. Sounds so reasonable. A's a dummy. There's never, try to think about it. There's never a situation where A will make a difference. How could A ever? If A's on a winning team with 3 people and he drops out, they're still going to win because it's 2-2, right? If he's on the 4, obviously that won't do anything. And there's no way he can be on a 2-player team and make him win because he's the loser on it. He never, ever makes a difference. He might as well not show up at the meetings. He's a dummy. So that's what math is coming in and informing different structures as to the real power. If you were junior partner A, you might want to know this math calculation before you agreed to such a setup and show your partners, hey, you know what? I'm truly a dummy in this situation. So this is where math is trying to help social structures to be efficient. So how do we do the multiple choice thing here? Can you tell which one it is? I can't even tell.
D.
Is it D? So anyway, they do underlining instead of circling. I'll just let you discern that. So we did the whole problem though. Last thing, just a couple minutes left. Any other questions on this one? I want to look back at number 1 with you, and then we'll stop. Okay, last little thing. I've been skipping number. Oh, I didn't do that. Did I not do that other one? Oh yeah, I better do that. Okay. Never mind. I'll go back to that. So here we go. Question 3. This is 2.1. Question 3. So I'm going back to question 3 here. So I didn't do this. And it says, find the smallest value of Q for which all 3 players have veto power. This is a hard question, and we're running out of time quickly. So how do you do this kind of weird question? Math Excel, if you click on the question help, will say all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, feel free to look at them. But really, I think the only reliable way is to guess. Here I am, the math teacher, saying guess. But I mean guess with a plan, guess with checking, guess with thought. So in other words, take a guess at Q. So they're saying, you say, I don't know any idea what Q is. How about I guess at like 12? I'm just guessing. Something bigger than 11. I don't want to make 11 a dictator. So I just guessed at 12. I don't know. Let me just see what happens. They're saying all 3 players have veto power. Well, when I made Q here be 12, do all 3 players have veto power or not? Now, what does veto power mean again? If you say no and the other 2 say yes, it's a no, right? You alone can block it. Veto power, right? So if 11 says no, does that block it? Yeah, the other 2 only have 10, so you need 12. So yes, 11 has the veto power. Now, does the 8 have the veto power? If he says, he says no. If he says no, and the other 2 say yes. If he says no and the other 2 says yes. If he says no, the other 2 only have 13. Oh, that's enough though, huh? So he can't block it, right? So 8 does not have veto power. So that didn't work. They wanted all 3 to have veto power. So 12 didn't work. Let me go up to 13. Let me go up to 13. Now let me think a better thought. If all 3 are going to have veto power, you should check the bottom one first. You see, because if the bottom one has veto power, then they've all got veto power, right? So that's what we're trying to find whether they... I shouldn't waste my time with the high ones. Just start with the low one. If the low one has veto power, they all have veto power, right? That makes sense, right? If somebody has any kind of power, then somebody bigger than has that power too. So does the 2 have veto power here? If the 2 says no, can they get it done without him? Yes, he doesn't have veto power. Right? If the 2 says no, does it block it? No. They have 19. So you realize we're going to have to go above 19? Do you see how these guys have 19? See how I'm learning now by guessing and fooling around? So if I do like 20, now the 2 has veto power. If the 2 says no, and these guys say yes, they only have 19. The 2 has veto power here. Do you see that? The 2 has veto power. At 19, he would not have had veto power, right? You with me? So 20 is the lowest number, right? Lowest number. See what it says up here? Smallest value. 20. Because 21, he would also have veto power, right? 21, if 2 said no, they still don't have enough. So all numbers after 20, the 2 has veto power. So the answer to part A is 20, is the lowest number, the first Q, by which they all three have. How do you know they all three? Well, if the 2 has veto power, everybody does. So you see how I just guessed around, played around, fooled around. But that's valuable because you think better and better and better about all these rules when you do that kind of exercise. So it's a valuable question. It just, I mean, I could spend an hour with you working on those. So that's just part A. Then you can do part B and part C, which say other things, and just kind of play around, play with the numbers. Spend some time. I encourage you, this is where the learning occurs. I mean, you can shortcut this stuff if you want, but I'd encourage you to really fool around until you understand how those are working. All right, let's stop there. We are out of time.